Hi everyone, Darren Green from Mila Homes here, and welcome back to the penultimate episode of the 12 Days of Property Investing. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. Today we're going to talk about how to manage a portfolio, so some key tips around what you should do when you start to have 2, 3, 4, 5 properties. What are some of the things that you want to watch out for, things that we've obviously picked up over the last couple of years. So let's get into it. So leverage your power team is the first thing I want to talk to. So most generally, I guess, and we touched on these, I think Jill took you through these in a previous episode, it's really, really important that when you start to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different properties, that you leverage your power team, as it's sometimes referred to. And that's because you physically don't have the time or all the experience in order to manage several different properties. So just picking out some key ones in there. Builders for managing refurbs. This year we had 3 refurbs running at the one time. It was really key. We could not keep on top of all of that ourselves, so we needed to make sure that we delegated well, still stay on top and understand what's going on, but you needed to have your builders that you could trust in place in order to make sure everything ran on track. Then in terms of your letting agents, so the assets that you've already got and are managing, you need to make sure that those properties are still profitable assets. At the end of the day, yes, we're providing a service to the community and providing homes that were previously empty or significantly outdated. We're bringing them back into use, but ultimately we're doing that as well for a property as for a profit as a business at the end of the day. So really important that you use and you make sure you build relationships up over time to make sure that you can manage a portfolio. So I thought I'd run through the top 5 tips for managing a portfolio. So number 1, set up trackers for your business, for admin, income, operations. There is, a whole host. I love a spreadsheet. There'll be people out there that just can't stand them, but you really need to have trackers in place. So it needs to be something where every single month we have a spreadsheet, and I'm happy to share that with anyone that wants it. It's not something we're particularly precious about, but we look at it every single month, and we'll look at what did we expect in terms of projection to come in, and what did we actually get in, where were the other costs going. So how much has gone to the letting agent, how much has the letting agent potentially charged you for maintenance. So you have some level of agreement that they'll be able to authorise up to £100 spend, for example, but anything over and above that, then they would need to get in touch with us, so we should be aware of it. But that £100 every other month can actually eat quite a bit into your profit. So it needs to be something. You can't just set up the house. It is passive income in a sense, but you can't expect that you're going to just buy a house, let it out, hand it off to a letting agent, and then never do anything again with it. You've got an obligation to run that as a business, so make sure that it is driving a profit, but also making sure that your obligations as a landlord are fulfilled. That doesn't sit with a letting agent. The letting agent is someone you empower in order to do things on your behalf, but ultimately you're the person that will be up in court for a gas boiler that doesn't have a gas safety certificate for it. And potentially a faulty boiler. That's where you're going to be. That's not the letting agent. So you need to make sure that you know when your electric certificates are due. So if there's any electric checks need to be done on appliances in the home that you had in place when you let the property out, it's your obligation to make sure that that's in place. The letting agent should be able to arrange these to be done for you, but you need to make sure and stay on top of them, because ultimately you're accountable. So I have a tracker spreadsheet set up, however you want to manage it really. as Jill mentioned, we have a big spreadsheet that has everything about every property, and every time there's a change to the gas safety, we'll just look at 365, beyond that, or we'll look 11 months time. We'll know to set a reminder that that's something we need to then go and look at that point in time. So everything we need to know about that property and what our obligations are in terms of timings that need to be fulfilled, that'll all be in there. Second one is look after your power team. So I mentioned a few of the names in the previous slide. So it's really important that you understand the importance of building relationships. So it could be you've got 20 properties and you've used a different builder on every single one. Now, there might be good reason for that, but I would suggest that it actually would make sense that you aim to try and build a sustainable relationship with a builder over a period of time. And not only that, but to look after them. The exact same with the letting agent. So, we've certainly done the traditional kind of sense of going actually face to face, meet people, don't just phone them, don't just send emails, go in and meet them, have a cup of tea, have biscuits, sit down and chat about what your expectations are in terms of the business relationship. So it doesn't have to be, extravagant gifts or that you have to put up with poor performance. I'm not suggesting that. What I am suggesting is that you need to invest time in working on relationships within people that will ultimately be helping you to put money in your pocket. So it really helps that you have a focus on building those relationships. The third one is get systems and processes set up before you scale. So sometimes people will say, I've only got 2 or 3 properties. Do I really need that? I can stay on top of it pretty well. Well, the answer is, well, it could be yes or no, but where do you expect that you're going to end up being? So if you would like to have a larger portfolio, then start with the end in mind. Don't get to 5, 6, 7 and then something goes wrong, and then you're needing to kind of backdate everything that you've kind of done so far for your existing units. Start with the end in mind. So if you see yourself as being a portfolio landlord, then put in that time, put in that effort now, so that you have systems and processes in place before you scale. So that it could be partly some of the spreadsheets that I'd said in my first point. So getting them set up now. Don't wait until you've got you've got 5, 6, 7 properties. Get them set up now, and you'll definitely see the benefit of them. But also in terms of getting some systems in place and processes around the people that you're working with. So, for example, it's no good handing off a property to the letting agent, but then if anything ever needs spent on that property, for them to phone you, because like everyone, time is our most valuable asset. So I don't want to be getting a phone call from a letting agent, every other week because something's going on. I want them to manage it, and I want to be able to set up a process where I have a periodic review of that property and how that's being managed with the letting agent. I don't want to be something that I have to do every single week. So have those conversations set up and have them right now. It will make it so much easier for you in the future. Number 4 is manage your LTV. So we've touched on this in a previous episode. LTV, if you don't know, is loan to value. So most buy-to-let mortgages at the moment are consistently 75% loan to value. That means the bank owns 75% and you own 25%. Now, that's what we generally run our buy-to-let mortgages at the moment. But we'll be looking to bring that down probably over time, closer to 65, potentially even 50 over the next kind of 10 to 15 years. The reason being, it reduces risk over a period of time. As I've said, in terms of the market, any downturn in the market over the last 70 years, you've never seen a correction greater than 19%. Now, the 19% that we've seen was in 2008. However, There is variability by region, so I think it's fair to say some areas are lacking in capital growth and in terms of recovery. So places like East Ayrshire, for example, are still not at the level of the prices that they were um, at the bottom of the last crash, so 2008, 2009. So they've still not recovered. Northern Ireland as well. So house prices in Northern Ireland are only just recovered back to where they were 2000 and 2008. So I think it's really important just to make sure that you put some long-term planning in place in order to just reduce that leverage that you've got, so that you don't potentially become become forced to sell in a down market. So as long as someone's in that property and it's got a positive cash flow, you shouldn't be concerned. But you don't want to be in a position where the bank is concerned about the leverage it's got against your particular asset and starts calling in that loan. That's what happened in 2008. But I will caveat that with that was when there was 100% mortgages in the market, 95, 90% buy-to-let mortgages in the market. So I think if you stick to 75% and keep that as the minimum, there's more products going into the market. There's buy-to-let mortgages at 80, 85 now. I'm sure in the next few years we'll see that sneak up to 90, 95 potentially. History has a tendency to repeat itself, so I think I wouldn't be surprised. But all I would say is don't get caught into that just because there's a product there, to be used. Don't get caught into the trap of using those products, because when you start getting to that level in a downturn in the market, you could be forced to sell. So try and keep it at 75% as a minimum and work over time just to reduce that. That might mean putting away 10% of your rental income over the course of a year for maintenance, and anything that you don't use, put into your mortgage as an overpayment. That's certainly something we're looking at doing. So manage your LTV. And finally, don't get too attached. So potentially linked to that, but when you're reviewing your properties, Jill always often refers to them as our babies. You've obviously invested a bit of time. You've definitely invested some emotion. You've definitely invested some cash as well. But you've got them to certainly our portfolio. We've taken them from an empty derelict house that generally wasn't serving anyone. We've refurbished that. We've made it nice and shiny and new, and we've put a tenant in it that absolutely loves it. Now that for us is more than just about the money that it puts in our pocket from a business perspective. It's about providing a service. But it's really important not to get too attached. So when you start looking at your portfolio, I would recommend doing this on at least an annual basis in terms of profitability. But obviously, if you've got your tracker from point one, you'll be doing this on a monthly basis anyway, at least. So you'll know what are the properties that have higher void periods. You'll know the ones that are cash flowing well. You'll also know the ones that there's capital growth there. So you'll be able to start looking at various factors to say where is the kind of ugly duckling from the portfolio. So and what I would say is, just because you've invested all that time, don't stay attached to it. It's really important that if you see an opportunity to sell it, because you could invest that the money that you would get from that sale in another asset that could perform better in another area, then go and do that. So if you've got 3 or 4 properties in an area that are performing really well and a few that aren't performing well in another part of the country, I don't think there's any problem with selling those and looking to reinvest in somewhere that you know you can get a better return, or a better quality tenant, or tenants that generally stay longer. So definitely look at all of those factors. Don't get too attached. If you need to sell one and reinvest, then do that. So I hope you found that useful. As I said, this is the penultimate episode of the 12 Days of Christmas. Tomorrow we're going to actually be sharing with you what we're doing across 2019 and what our goals are, just straight from New Year. So hopefully you'll join us for that, and I will speak to you tomorrow.